So we were going to have a quick summary of organization talks, like the talks that have gone on. I actually thought that someone other than me might want to speak up. I guess, Pete, you've been on that. Has anyone else here been on that thread?
I've been on it, but I'm philosophically opposed to organizations.
Well, that's sort of the outcome of the thread. So do you want to talk about that?
It's no, I've worked on. I was vice chairman of a $12 million nonprofit. I have, organization is a necessary evil. I don't like it, but it's but I'm having worked at IBM, I can handle it.
So what I put in the league on Signal, I thought summarized it, which is that the sentiment in the group who talked about it was that we don't need organization until we need organization, and then we will. And nobody really wants to do that now, not an official corporate organization. I mean, we'll have informal, somebody will lead a meeting if they need to. Pete kind of nominated me, I guess, this time. And I'm going to try and not say very much more, but that we're not going to do that. We do want to give some attention maybe to what licensing of IP is, so that people who start contributing aren't surprised by whatever happens with what they contribute. But we don't have to do that immediately. That's the summary. Does anybody think that's not where we are, or think that's a problem?
Seems fine.
Sounds fine to me.
All right, Chip, you there? You got sound?
No, he doesn't.
Nope, Chip, you're not there. Can you hear us? All right. Anytime you want to get sound working, just interrupt us.
Just yell loud.
And we'll look for your hand motions and go look in the chat. Unless you want to stop and we'll focus and get it working. No? Okay. So organization. I'm just going to put in the notes, not at this time, right?
Yeah, it's having been in the downfall of more organizations than I will easily admit. It is something that attention needs to be paid to, but at this point, there's nothing driving the need for organization. If a group fractures and falls apart at this point, if we have a bank account and lots of money, then it potentially becomes contentious. But there's no particular reason to do that at this point. So it's despite my philosophical objection to organization, they become necessary.
Right. Okay. So sounds like we're pretty much on a page, and we'll figure that out. And the next thing here is for me to shut up and Nick and Pete. Pete says Nick, but probably both of you to talk some about the state of technical progress and the parts around and what's coming in and all the good stuff.
Well, we should tomorrow have PC boards. They are ESP32C3s. They have one of the I can't keep the Dialog chips. It has space for a Dialog chip. It has very little else on it. It's designed just to make sure that it's a sanity check. And we've got. I had 6 ESP32Cs, and I've ordered another 12, so that we, if we are relatively careful and don't destroy too many of them, we should be able to build up a couple boards. The aim is to build up a couple, build up one, build up. We've ordered 3. The aim is to build all 3 boards. I get one, Pete gets one, and somebody else gets one. But very quickly, we want to cycle to a whatever needs to be fixed, and there probably will be things to fix. We want to spin out another slightly more complicated board. I've ordered the sockets for one of the Dialog chips. It doesn't really matter which one, because they are all they come out onto a header, and if you get the header correct, then you can program any of the chips. So I just picked one and ordered it. They give me 50 chips, which is not a bad deal for $35 plus 15 shipping. That should be here, relatively soon. So we most likely have hardware. If I was, I've been spending the past day making up all sorts of excuses of why the software isn't working. Unfortunately, it's just when Pete's router died, my software started to work. I was having awful problems getting the Dialog stuff to work inside of the IDF package, which is how you program the ESP packages. It now works. It's long story there, which is just, there are some issues that I have that the Dialog chip appears to. I've been beating on this particular board, and in the middle of my doing something, it changed. It changed the I2C addresses. I have no idea why it changed the I2C addresses. Pete's going to build me up a couple more, and we will, work out what it's supposed to be. But it's a lot of this is sort of understanding the Dialog view of the world and the ESP, some fairly deep aspects of the ESP C3, which is a RISC processor, and a fairly new one. I would say that I have them, 70% under control. And that I think is a good state to be in. So the aim is to build up, I don't know, X number of boards for the next go around. We may, Chinese New Year is coming up, which means that the first couple of weeks of February, the world in China will be shut down. I've found a US source which is slightly more expensive than the Chinese source, who has 136 in stock. He's charging $2.99 as opposed to $1.68 plus shipping. So I mean, we're still in the noise floor as far as costs are concerned. What else do you need to know?
I have a question.
Please.
So right now it's the ESP32C, and it's this particular model you're using.
Correct.
And it's going to go into this board. While you're debugging the board, one of the things I wondered about is, I just don't know enough to have a clue right now. I haven't even looked into it. I've got a pile of sort of standard ESP32s, the legacy ones that have been around for a while. I use them for cameras and other things around the house. Mm-hmm. How adaptable, if I were to take one of the Dialog breakout boards I have, and am I in a position to start making progress, getting familiar with the workings of things? Not yes. As nice as having I am.
Yeah, I mean, I part of the problem is that I wrote most of my code on one of the ESPs that has more memory,
like what I've got, more or less.
Yeah, and then when I moved to the C3, there are some minor incompatibilities, which I now understand.
So you're willing to share that? Because I'd love to play with it, and I know I won't catch up, but I might be familiar enough to come up to speed faster if I start playing with it, or I can just play with it on my own.
It is. I am hoping in the next 2 or 3 days to be able to at least demonstrate and give to people like you the ESP, the code to run this thing.
Okay,
and
cool.
I can compile the code to run on a straight ESP or on the C3s. Just it's a compiler switch.
Okay.
The code is a web interface, multiple page web interface. It comes up as a as a station all by itself, a Wi-Fi station, and assigns DHCP addresses. You can change it to assign so it hooks into your router. If it doesn't find the router within a minute or so, it defaults back to the 192.168.4.1.
Right.
The base address. It goes back home.
And what did you implement that in? I'm just really curious. The whole web services thing you put together. What did?
Oh, that's that's implemented in ESP code. VU.
Oh, okay. Just C on the ESP using the libraries.
Oh yeah, no, it's
perfect.
It's as I say, it's a multi-level thing. The code looks. I've got some graphing modules in there. The code is. If it works, it's pretty good.
Cool, that's great. I know that feeling. Sometimes it works, right? Doesn't it feel good?
It is. I say there are multiple pages. There are menus. I may be able to do a drag and drop with some checking. At the moment, I can turn the dialog and toggle GPIO lines on the dialog chip, or at least I think I can, and do all sorts of stuff like that. The Dialog toolkit is available free, really nice. I'm trying to get to the point. There are probably 24 different Dialog chips. Some of them have drivers for stepper motors. Some of them have low dropout regulators. And I'm trying to ensure that the code I've written is general purpose enough so we can use any of them. The Dialog has this, as I was saying, they have this plug-in board which has a socket for a 20-pin QFM package, a really tiny package, but they have a socket for it. So the next iteration on the board, I think, will have the plug for that. If you go to the Dialog site for $35 plus shipping, they will send you 50 chips plus one of the sockets, which is a pretty good deal. I picked. I say I've placed my order. They haven't told me it's not in stock, and it appears to be, they haven't balked at it. There are some of them listed as being in stock on DigiKey. So they appear to be, even though the chips themselves aren't available, they are available in the package, in the whole package with the module. So the modules all, the socket thing all plugs into the same base. So if we get the base right, then we can program any of the chips. Some of them are available in solder, in ones that are friendly to soldering irons, and some of them are not. It's the reason that I got the low dropout regulator ones is that I want, for my own purposes, to have one of the Dialog chips as the power supply, as the low dropout regulator for a C3, so I can use that as the battery charger and everything to run a C3 thing that I want to sell. So it's but there are 50 chips. Even if I screw up a whole bunch of them, is a pretty good deal. There are ones. The board has some space on it, so you can put some LEDs on it, and do some human things. As I say, this first iteration was simply designed of, can we do it? Is it going to work? How many cuts and jumpers do we have? And we will see. We will see. Any other questions? You're all looking at me like I'm from Mars.
Is it a 4-layer board or a 2-layer board?
You're not from Mars?
No, I'm from England.
How many layers is the board from
Just two.
Oshpark?
Just two. It's a relatively simple board.
Yes, it routed very easily. There's one interesting aspect of the board that folks might find interesting is there's a slot in the middle of the PC board, and that if you've seen a C3, the ESP32 C3, one of its form factors is a very, very tiny enclosed metal package with the usual printed circuit antenna sticking out on the end of the board. But on the other side of the board is an edge connector, an 18-position edge connector. And so the board fits in a slot in this board that's being sent from Oshpark. And making that slot turned out to be non-trivial. Anybody that's interested in making, and I'm talking about a slot, not a cutout, right? So I'm not talking about like having a hole or a rectangular thing, or making the board look like the shape of a pineapple instead of a rectangle and stuff like that. This is a precision slot that is just wide enough to accept the PC board sliding into it, and then the board edge connectors, the fingers stick out the bottom, and Nick created an Eagle component for the C3 that consists of pads on the underside of the board. And so it creates like a corner, so each finger corresponds to one of the pads on the PC board, and it's just a matter of sticking the soldering iron in that junction and making a little fillet of solder.
Oh, so you actually made this so it solders in vertically. Wow, that is quite tricky. I was thinking what you'd done is made through holes or something, or surface mounts, and you're going to actually attach a slotted fixture onto the board, but you've made it so the board itself is the fixture that the ESP32 solders into.
That is correct.
Wow, right. That's actually pretty cool.
And all of the pins for the ESP and the Dialog chip come out. So they all come out to potential jumpers. So you can do whatever.
There's some kind of header that you could wire into or plug into or connect to.
Yep. I mean, there's even the I2C, which is used for programming it, comes out. So it is. Everything is there.
Nice.
So I learned long ago you plan for things not to work. They might.
Do we? Sorry.
Go ahead. You plan for them not to work.
Do we have any Eagle? Actually, I guess Chip is an avid user of Eagle. One thing about slots is that Eagle doesn't support them, and the very nice people at Oshpark some year or two ago created what's called a CAM file, which is short for computer-aided manufacturing. And this CAM file somehow analyzes a combination of holes and a special line that you put in the milling layer, and it transmogrifies your drill. It creates a third drill file, and then it creates Gerbers, which are required to provide the extra detail so that Oshpark can figure out what's happening. And so it even creates the Gerbers as a zip file. And so then instead of uploading the Eagle board file, you upload the zip of all of the Gerbers, and Oshpark chews on that and comes back and says, "Oh, I recognize a slot." It appears to say that this is blessed and accepted, and we'll find out tomorrow whether it
It works.
It's actually made a slot, and if it doesn't, I've got an abrasive cutoff wheel.
And a chisel.
No, actually, I have a very, very thin abrasive cutoff wheel in combination with a milk. I've got a milk cutter.
And I have
exactly
a hammer.
one. It's exactly 1 millimeter in diameter, which is the thickness we need. The board is 0.8 of a millimeter thick, which is very thin, by the way. That's 24 thousandths of an inch. It's real thin compared to most PC boards. And so there's 0.1 of a millimeter on each side to give it enough room to slide in and out. And we'll see how it comes out.
How thin did you say it was? 0.8? No.
It's 0.8 of an inch thick, and it's 18 millimeters square.
Yep.
It's 18 long,
It's
18
0.8
wide.
of a millimeter thick is what I think what you meant. Yeah, okay.
It's 0.8 of a millimeter, which is
Yeah.
24 thousandths of an inch.
Right.
Yep. And so if I did that right, yes, I think I did.
And
that
that's
right.
the ESP3 board that's
Yep.
the ESP32C that's that dimension?
Yep.
Correct. Yeah, it's really small. We
And
could.
Really once you get into reasonable quantities, they're below $2.
Right.
Which
Let me, if I can maneuver around and turn my camera on, you can see this is a development board.
We can't see.
You can't see it.
We just see you as a round circle again.
Oh,
what he is.
that's because hang on, there.
There you go.
Do you see it'll focus in a second. The C3 is sitting in a slot, and on the underside of the board, right here, the board has gone through and it's been soldered on both sides. So now that view shows the radio and the microprocessor and all of that in a can, and then the antenna on top. So we've got
the entire board looks like a stick of gum, basically.
Yeah. The PC board that's coming tomorrow is 1 by 3 inches.
Quick question. I've been paying attention to who's here, and there's somebody named Trouble. And I know that we have an open meeting that anybody can join. Does Trouble want to identify themselves and say they're, Mike. Hi, Mike. Thanks.
Oh, Chuck's also here. And also Dawn's also joined.
I have I've probably phoned Dialog 5 or 6 times, and Dialog it bought out one company. It was bought out. It's a long chain of fish eating fish. I have not got any response from the marketing department. They don't even answer their phones. In fact, nobody at Dialog per se answers their phone. So I'm going to go up the food chain to Rensselaer or whatever the larger company is, presuming that
Renaissance,
yes, presuming that they are transferring the marketing department. I want to make them and if we have boards, then we're going to post the boards on the forum, their forum, and see what we can get for a response from them. They have student discounts and all sorts of stuff that I have not explored, but I want to get there. They'll either love us or hate us, but their boards aren't available. And if our board is available, is cheaper, that leads into the whole thing of how and if and when to charge for it. But if our board is available to other people, then we become the only kid on the block, which might be a good thing. But I say it's the company seems to be in some chaos. The engineer that wrote some of the code a long time ago is now working at Lenovo, and I intend to invite him to the next meeting if that makes sense. Whether he wants to come or not, but he may have some insight into what's going on with the company. Let's see, trying to think what else you need. The board that we are doing has a onboard USB connector, which is only connected to its only function is ground and power. You have to have one of these serial connectors, which are, I've got probably half a dozen of them, that plugs into the header to initially program the board. I am not sure I can get over-the-air debugging into the space with the websites, and the C3s have some. The over-the-air debugging, I have not got to work on the C3s. I got to work on all the other chips, but it's the C3s are, and I haven't delved into that. So, presuming that will eventually be fixed, it's not a big concern.
So, Mike, go ahead.
Is that an FTDI serial connector that you have there?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. I mean, the aim is to make this thing. You've got 70 cents for the Dialog chip. You've got $2 for the ESP. You've got regulators and the other stuff that goes on it. So we're still way below $10 for the parts cost.
And there's also the assumption that the boards would not be made by Oshpark in volume. There are extremely less expensive, very much less expensive alternatives to Oshpark for the PC board itself. But while we're still very early in prototyping mode, so anything that wasn't completely essential is missing from the board. So the signal lines would need level shifters to go from the USB directly into the C3. We discussed mounting holes a little bit and decided no, at this stage we we don't need to think too much about mounting holes. But it's going to be a little bit funny when you sit it down on a flat surface. It's going to be at an angle with the board sticking out the bottom. But one thing that we would love to see is others interested in engaging with the next version or what we might call a next generation. That could have more features, could support additional positions for chips. It could have the more powerful ESP32 on it, for that matter. So we're eager to get other people interested and involved in different aspects.
So are you all seeing Mike's comment about standard packaging or mounts? Mike, you want to
bring up his
just when we get to the point that we have that we're deciding where the mounts go on the board, if there's anything that we can get it perhaps lower cost because it's already being made somewhere, make the board compatible to the standard packaging.
It's yeah. I mean, it's. I'm sure that it would be nice if there was a little box available for it that it dropped in. It works if when it's panelized, you get the exact right number of boards on the panel. This is what I think they call manufacturing engineer, which as a development engineer, I know nothing about. It's we used to chase the manufacturing engineers out of the development lab. It's like, go away. Don't like you. We had a Go Fly a Brick award. That's an entirely different way of looking at the world. And it doesn't happen to be the way I look at the world.
Right, we probably want to get it working, and then we probably want to find someone who thinks that way and get them involved before we ship.
I'm not degrading them at all. They're just
right.
Just get away from my.
No, I identify with you, but I value having them around. Right?
Oh, yeah, no. It's if yes.
And I have ideas that I'll throw out there that I have no idea how to execute. So.
Well, we'll see what we can do, and we'll find someone who can.
And the more people that take a look at it, and the more it's the more inputs there'll be. I produced the first cut, and then Pete, we went back and forth a bunch of times, and it's the more within reason, the more people involved, the more inputs, the better chance you have of getting something that people will like. And the same goes for the software. I'm trying to do drop and drag, and all web interface, and relatively simple to use, at least in my opinion. But then I tend to complicate things. So but my I was using as a sort of a mental model the Forge initiative. I wanted them to be able to hand out these boards to a whole bunch of snotty-nosed kids on a Saturday who can play with it, and and if they drop it, step on it, or put ice cream on it, nobody's going to cry. So I'm not going to go near the kids. They can do their own thing. But the aim was to produce something that that they can use.
Right.
That so far we that's there will be probably there'll be a couple more iterations. The next run will probably be 10 boards, maybe more than that, depending on how many people want boards. At that point, it probably it would be. I'm interested in putting a more powerful FPGA onto the board, run by the Dialog chip, which has multiple low dropout regulators. So you've got a whole family of things, and so it's and that having a far more powerful board, where you've got maybe a $10 chip on there, and the tools are beyond what a 14-year-old they should be out doing something and not playing with boards. So that's sort of the aim, and it's a but I think well, I mean the Dialog charges, I think they're $90, $70 or $90 for their programmer, and let's say our programmer, I don't know, that gets into the organization stuff. I don't know how we want to address selling them, but we have something that they don't have.
Right. We can rather hope that their financial model isn't to sell lots of programmers, that it's to sell lots of chips.
No, I don't. I think they regard programmers, and they want to get people involved. But the socket itself was $35 plus 15 shipping. When I looked at the sockets were $80 for the particular chip I was interested in. So they are, they're selling. If that's their business model, they ain't going to be here long. They just want to push these things out to to people to use. And
one thing about the programmer is that there is apparently behind the scenes at Dialog a debacle involving their programmer. Mauser had 35 of them for sale, and I have an order for 4 in the works, and they've been back ordered. And I went and dug up the dirt on the Dialog forum, and the bottom line is that they messed it up. It's got some kind of design flaw, and they literally withdrew it before any were shipped, at least out of this batch of 35. And so we're kind of in a holding pattern, and it's on my list to call Mauser again and find out if there's any update from Dialog, and heaven forbid if they've changed the part number, in which case I might be waiting a very long time for the other part number to ship. So I'll be pinging them to see what's going on. But there's a long discussion. I'm pretty sure I think I put a link to the forum discussion. Yeah.
Sorry. So it'd be interesting. I mean, at work I use Renesas chips, not my choice, but legacy. And recently had to go through, our programmer burned out and somebody lost everything but the source code. And so I had to go through rebuilding our programming station for manufacturing to use. I had to rebuild all the code, which had been built with 12-year-old compilers that aren't available anymore.
Yes.
And so I worked my way through that, in exciting times so that manufacturing could ship parts again, because parts weren't going out till we could program them. But what I did do is Renesas, not Dialog, who's just been acquired by Renesas. Renesas had pretty good, I assume some of you have worked with them, pretty good customer support, got me what I needed pretty quickly. And actually, all of the software was free unless I was going to use it for very large projects. For small projects, it was free, and it was pretty easy to work with them. So there's some hope that once they've just acquired a small company. I'm sure you've all been through one of those. The small company is now in tatters, trying to figure out who works for whom and what happens. I suspect over a little bit of time, we'll find out that Renesas says, good, we got this. It'll work out.
No, there's the meeting where the VP comes in and says nothing's going to change.
that meeting, yes. Right up until everybody starts working with anybody. So yeah. They've got to be sorting their way through that, which has got to be why things haven't been right. And Renesas knows how to do this. They'll get it eventually. But we should probably expect that's a 3 to 6 month process usually, right? That's not any quicker than that. Sometimes it's a 3-year process.
Yep. But the tools are superb. There's a key group, looking at the chips, Dialog came out of the ability to do flash memory, and there's got to be like 3 or 4 people that are key to the chip design. They put a lot of money into the tools. I'm reasonably impressed with that. I'm very impressed with the ESP tools. They're not. If you are in the Juno in the Juno world, the tools are adequate. If you wander into the land of the IDF.py, which is all of the native stuff, they put a lot of effort into that. I'm impressed.
Right, there's a reason that they got acquired. They actually got something right. It looks like.
Yeah, no, so yeah, I'm so far. I'm hoping that this I2C address change is not indicative of something, because I've been abusing the board that I have. Starting it, stopping it, flashing it, and monkeying with it. So. There could be a pin strap on startup. Don't know.
Right.
I'm not overly concerned at this point. The code automatically scans for a block of 4 IP addresses, for I2C addresses, and locks onto those. So if it changes, I don't care now. But
Cool.
I'd like to know what it is. It's okay, so it is. Pete and I will I imagine in the next 2 weeks build up the boards. I will post a very early copy of the code that I have. There'll be one board available. Whoever gets there first gets it. And then whoever wants a board, put your hand up. The boards are currently we're paying $10 a piece for the boards on a very fast turn. But if we that will go down considerably.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I guess we should find a place for people to ask, but I'd certainly like a couple once you've done the first turnaround. Meanwhile, if you get any of the code up on GitHub or anything, I'd like to start playing with. I've got hardware I can play with, as you said, and that way when I actually get a board, I'll be a little more able to make sense of it.
Yep, I say it's. Yeah, I may, at least until I clean the damn code up,
And I won't object. I've been in that. I've spent a lot of time in R&D. Your code won't offend me. I won't be coming at you saying, "What kind of crazy guy are you?" I'll be going, "Wow, it works most of the time. He did good."
Yeah.
Yes,
right. No problem with that.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's worth adding also the fact that between Rob, Nick, and I, we have a collection of parts that are already available. So, for example, of course I put it away, but the little dip breakout board mounted chip that Rob and I bought, I think 60 of. We can make those available to people, and you can actually start using them without waiting for the C3 board by using an Arduino and an Arduino sketch. There's
Do
a
we
mechanism.
have a working version of that sketch now?
Yes. Oh, did you not hear that story?
No, I knew it wasn't working. I didn't know we got a working one.
Oh yeah, no. The one that was posted was flaky. It wasn't. It was incomplete and broken. And I went to the forum and I found the thread covering that, and I posted a link to the properly working Arduino setup, including a PDF of instructions from memory. There's a how-to document, and folks could take that, the synthesis tool, the cookbook, and start having a party with these things. And
so where did you put the link?
Well, it's all in the repository on GitHub.
Oh, okay.
And I published all of this stuff, but we'll do it again, and we'll get them into the meeting notes. If a conversation gets going here, and I have a minute, I'll dig up some of the details. But there is a wealth of information currently in GitHub /TriEmbed/league, and
okay.
in that under that repository is a doc directory. Under that is contrib, and under that is dialog, and under that is a boatload of stuff, the data sheets and various publications and so on. There are also the readme.md file in the dialog directory contains 6 or 8 hyperlinks to a trove of information. Although Nick keeps digging up more juicy stuff, I think it's missing 1 or 2 things that he's discovered in the last few days. But also that GitHub repository, there is actually a TriEmbed account now, and it's my understanding that the way the Oh, okay. So Mike or somebody has shared a screen, and if you click on doc, or is it not in real time? Yeah, click on doc, then contrib, and then dialog. And you scroll down a little bit, you'll see hyperlinks. Whoops, where did the hyperlinks go? Oh, data sheets. Click data sheets. Yeah, I need to refactor this a little bit. And so underneath here are the data sheets for the programmable, all of the different flavors of programmable chips that can be programmed multiple times. As Rick said, I meant Nick. As Nick said, there are a few dozen, couple dozen different flavors of chip, and a lot of them are one-time program. But this set of part numbers that you see here are multiple, can be programmed multiple times. If you go up a level and then down into publications, that's got the information that I was referring to. Yeah, publications. There you go. So the first thing is an overview of the chips. Then there's a cookbook of a whole bunch of designs of projects that people can work through to play with. Like if you want to try out, like for example, there's an one of them gives you level translators between two power domains, and the third item there is the synthesis tool for programming the thing. And basically you can take the files that come along, that are available with the cookbook, and plug them into the designer and program a chip to give it the personality of the cookbook. Then once you've gotten to Blinky, you can go in and start customizing and experimenting and exploring with what the thing can do. The next item down is the support forum address. And then there's a handful of other stuff. Let's see if that Arduino programming is there, or did I put that in a directory someplace? Is that the bottom?
They have produced a lot of paper.
Yes.
Yeah. If you go up a level, Mike, if you go up a level, I think there might be one more. Yeah, go to programming. And there is the corrected MTP programming stuff. If you click on that on the AN-CM, yeah. Okay, that was the dialog document. And if you clicked in that subdirectory that was underneath there, I think that's where all of the Arduino files. Yeah, there, that one. That one.
Okay.
And if you pull it out where we can see, there's a border just to the left of files that you can grab, and you can make the leftmost column wider. But anyway,
not on my system. No, I can't.
Okay, no, that's fine. It's mostly invisible, I think. Anyway, you can see the smoking gun is that .ino file right there. And as I said, I got that straight out of the forum from one of the Dialog engineers or Renaissance engineers.
Cool.
Their information. So we can arrange to distribute these boards, and let me see if I can put one in front of a camera.
And just so everyone knows that the links to these two particular directories, the data sheets and the publications, I've placed in the chat window.
Oh, good. Right. So you put a link to the GitHub. Okay. Now, yeah, there is some duplication. Okay. Let me explain. Here, hear my confession. There are two repositories now, one called Aardvark and the other one called League, and the intention is to make Aardvark specific to this C3 based system, and so it will have the CAD files and other things as soon as I can remember to catch those up, whereas the League is meant to be more general information. And I'd be really happy with a replacement name for the League, by the way. I've gotten tired of that. We could
just, it's you, Rob, you were asking about this is I have one of those nice little plexiglass sockets, which takes the largest C3. And I have that obviously wired into the Dialog chip. That I can drop in the regular ESP or the S2s. They're all pin for pin compatible. So this is the tool that I use to program in.
And can I find how you've got that pinned and wired in here, or take a picture of it?
Because I ain't telling you. No, it's they're just 4 wires.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. Yeah, actually, I can figure that out.
Yeah, and I just I tape them down so it's they stay where they don't drop on the floor because the little boards.
It's just I2C, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's what I figured out when he showed me. When he held it up right, it was like, oh, look, he's just doing I2C. No problem.
Yeah,
and
it's I probably have 10 of these sockets, which are you say you can pop chips out. I only have a couple of the C3s that pop into that, but it's it's just this is too small.
I just saw that bundle of wire that I didn't realize the ends weren't all attached, and thought he's doing a lot of magic. I need to know what the magic is.
No.
I2C I can handle.
I every time I rip the extra wires off, I end up needing them.
Right.
So it's a.
This is the breakout board that we have 60 of. Rob's got 40. I've got 20. And those of you that would like to get your hands on one of these things and use it with the Arduino, we can arrange to meet halfway, or I can just mail them using postal. In fact, Chuck, I did not get to the post office on Saturday, and today I had some interesting things going on before my house broadband went wacko. So I will catch up with the post office with that thing that I told you I'd send you. But anyway, this thing is it is a breakout of the part number called SLG 47004, and it's a really disgustingly small package. It's a I think it's a 3x3 millimeter 24 pin package in the middle of this breakout board. And then on the underside, it's got decoupling capacitors. It's got positions for an LED, and it's got positions for pull-ups for the I2C, but they're not populated. So any of you that are really brave and have the really good soldering irons or hot air might be tempted to add the LED and the pull-up resistors, but the rest of us are going to simply have external pull-up resistors on the breadboard.
Yeah, but you can also on the C3 just select a pull-up. So you that's one of the things you can enable on the C3s.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, so you can have a weak pull up within the C3 itself, just like on a lot of other like on all well-mannered single board computers. Okay.
So that is the state of things. I'm going to start wiggling Renaissance's chain, and either they'll hate us or love us, but they should at least be aware of us. And we'll we'll have boards Tuesday. Given a week to get all the boards and codes and get things running, and we'll spin out another board.
The breakout that we have available for distribution has an A to D converter on it, and may be extra interesting by virtue of that.
The ESP has moderately good 12-bit A to Ds and D to As. The input impedance in the A to D is kind of glitchy and runs about 80K, so you need to buffer it. If you drive, unless you're driving it from a battery, they draw a little current on the input. There are uncommitted op amps on this, so it makes the A to D converters don't excite me, but the ability to buffer the signal into the C3 does excite me. Do we have any other wisdom?
Okay.
Why don't we just throw it open to folks? Whatever.
Right, that was the next thing, is throwing it open to anybody who had anything. Sorry, Pete, I talked over you. My bad. We were going to throw it open for anybody who had anything related to this project or anything else they wanted to share, and then we were going to set up a next meeting. That was sort of the plan at this point.
I got a question about the programmer. Is that a normal serial programmer, or what are you using?
The programming of the Dialog board is done via I2C. The C3 has the initial programming has to be done with the serial thingy. If I can get the over-the-air debugging, the over-air flashing working, then you will be able to flash the board over the air. Don't know. I've got I haven't got it. The C3 over the air updates working, period. So it's ideally you would flash ideally there'd be no need to have a physical connection.
Right now you're using in-circuit serial, is that?
Yeah, right now I'm using the larger chip, and because this has the serial convert the USB converters. The C3 has internally a USB receiver, and whether we actually connect the USB or not. What I would like to see is maybe not the next iteration, but the one after that, actually have one of the Dialog chips doing the buffering and the voltage regulation for the C3. So actually use the device to, the one-time programmable device to run everything. So that's, that sort of makes sense to me. Yeah, I was listening to somebody today, and they were talking. It is believed that sometime around 2035, they will have computers that are slightly more intelligent than people. Now, if you have a computer that's a little more intelligent than the person, and you tell it to design the next iteration of computers, then you've reached singularity. The whole. So it's luckily I'm old.
Oh, you're not sitting around waiting for that, huh?
No, I'm probably doing more than my share to bring it about, but that's another story.
I did post a link to one of the FTDI programmers in the sidebar. Just if anybody wants to see what they look like, but I would be really shocked if everybody here doesn't already have one.
Right. I was about to offer that I could loan or give somebody one, and I'm like, why?
Yeah,
Well,
the USB jacks. I picked one at random and threw it on the board. I've got 10 of them, but that's if you've got access to some, that would help.
In a pinch, I've used one of my dev boards to program one of the little itty bitty 8266 boards called. The little 8-pin ones.
Yeah.
I've bridged over the serial on it and just used the bigger board to program it by disabling it. It works great.
Yeah, I'd say the C3s have an internal USB thingy-madoodle. All you have to do is level translate for them. But the C3 manual is like 900 pages long, and I've skimmed it several times, but every time I get to the end, I realize I've forgotten what's at the beginning. But there's a lot there. The same thing with the Dialog chips. It's there's a lot of stuff to absorb.
So there was a thread on the Signal about the ESP32 board being so wide that it won't fit on a regular breadboard, and we talked about taking the power and ground rails off the sides of the solderless breadboards. So if you can see that now, it's sitting on there, and you've got access like it's three full holes on both sides for accessing the signals. And the only trick is you have to decide whether to have the inner or outer set of pins go down into the breadboard that's got 2 rows. In fact, let me show you the back side of this board. I have made this board for a different
Pete,
purpose.
we can't see anything.
You're kidding me.
I see
We
Pete.
see you, and you just haven't held it up to the camera. When you get it up there, we'll see it.
I just got through holding it up against the camera. You didn't see me holding this for about a minute?
I saw.
I can't see
saw
it. No.
Earlier, your video went out.
Okay,
as well.
Carl can't see it. The rest of us can.
I just see a PS.
Oh, the rest
Really?
of us are seeing Pete.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
maintenance
that's
issue
all
at
I
Carl's,
see.
at
PS.
Carl's house.
Most people, I just see the initials. Once in a while, a video shows up. Disappears.
He's decided you don't have enough bandwidth.
No, I got
Okay.
plenty here. That's
I don't
over
know then.
200.
Huh.
Well, anyway, I was just going to show you that the back side of the board has got it's 2 rows of signals, and for my own purposes, I've put header pins, male pins through both. So this won't work with a breadboard, period, because it would each of the pairs of pins would be occupying a single column on the breadboard, which is a violation. But I intend to use this with female header connectors for an application. But some of you guys are much more familiar with these ESP32 boards, and you mentioned if I turn it over again and see the top side, there are daughter boards, I guess they're called shields, that fit on these 2 rows of pins that are 9/10 of an inch apart. So there must be a fairly well-organized set of standards. I noticed the inner 2 rows. You're saying that they're not organized?
No, there's no standardization. Like all Arduino shields, there's no cooperation between people, and if you need to stack 2 of them together, you
They
got
don't
about
work,
10% chance of it working.
Okay.
There's some physical organization. Sometimes they'll plug together, but whether they'll work after they plug together, that's a whole, all bets are off.
Yeah,
Then.
that's
But you can plug them together just in case.
One of the other things that there is an adapter to get those dual rows broken out into a breadboard. I've seen the Gerber for it somewhere, but it's escaping me right now.
Yeah. I've actually made that very thing only for a smaller number of pins, and many different ways to skin the cat. But I think it's more common, as Paul was recommending, putting female headers on both of the rows so that you can access both rows, and then only having either the inner or the outer come through to go into the solderless breadboard. And there seems to be a quasi standard involving the inner 2 rows. But maybe not.
if particularly when you get to November, you have all those political signs that show up near polling stations. I have been known to collect the boards after the election is over, and I just cut pieces out and stick. I use them as the base for a whole bunch of stuff because they're nice, they're light, and I don't really care about them. You can cut them with a razor blade and abuse them.
Yep.
So I have a board I made at Osh Park that allows you to rewire not all 16 pins, because I didn't think you'd want to rewire power and ground, but the other 14 pins. And so you plug one shield in there and this one goes in the other place, and then you can put little jumpers to reconfigure it however you want.
Hey,
Nice.
Paul.
That's really
Paul?
nice.
Yeah.
Could you hold it up and don't move it? And the autofocus, there you go. The autofocus on your camera was keeping it out of focus the whole time. What are the little blue things? Are those jumpers?
Those are jumpers, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
That
so
is a brilliant idea. I really like that.
This is just a straight wired. Everything is straight wired. I also do it so I when I want to revise a shield that I've designed, this is easier than cutting through and rewiring, traces and whatnot. It allows you to make soft changes and try them out.
Very nice.
The link I just posted is where I bought the boards, the ESP boards on eBay, and I'm discussing with the seller getting I think I've got them down to like 160, 150 and we'll try for better than that. Although for a board that is that powerful, that's pennies.
Right.
Oh, somebody has posted the same straddling breadboard picture.
Right. I did it with the little mini breadboards when I did it, but this looks really nice.
I couldn't get a picture off the screen, so I figured I'd find one.
So to recap, tomorrow, with luck, we'll have one board populated and perform magic smoke tests and various things like that, figure out whether or not the contacts are all upside down and backwards or if they're straight and so on. And we will keep the signal group posted on what's going on with that. And then, as Nick said, assuming that they're not throwaway boards, you know, if it takes up to a half a dozen wires or cuts or something, I'm up for that. But otherwise, we'll spin that and get it corrected. And the basic idea is to straddle Chinese New Year and not try to go too far too fast over the course of the next few weeks.
So
I guess we'll.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say the other item that we should think about before we finish is the timing of the next meeting. The next monthly TriEmbed meeting is going to be February the 14th, which is relatively late in the month. The last, if we space it, let me look at March.
I was going
The
to
second
say,
Monday
are
in
we
March
the
is also the
21st?
14th. Sorry?
Oh, I was going to ask, are we the week after that again, the 21st of February?
February and March are both identical layouts. The second Monday is the 14th, and the Monday in between that one and the March meeting is the 28th. So if we met on Monday the 28th, it would be halfway between the February and March meetings.
So February 28th, and it'll either be in person if at all possible or virtual if the world has forced that on us.
Yeah, and